I now turn the floor to the Russian Federation.
Madam President, we thank the briefers, the Secretary General David Beasley and Gabriela Bucher, for their analysis of the situation of food security. Madam President, since this is your first presidency and its first signature event, we can see in the choice of such an acute theme for our meeting an important signal of your support for more active joint work to resolve the problems of food security. For our part, we note that for our delegation as well, strengthening the cooperation of UN member countries in this area is a priority. Growing socio-economic challenges linked to the eradication of poverty, the fight against hunger, climate change, and migration require the collective efforts of the entire international community. Without unified action and mutual trust, we cannot expect to effectively achieve the ambitious Sustainable Development Goals. At the same time, we believe that to achieve the desired result, we must avoid the Security Council beginning to interfere in the well-oiled and effective work on this subject done by the General Assembly and also the specialized organs of the UN that are responsible for food security and the fight against hunger. We would in particular like to single out the WFP and the FAO. The World Food Programme's contribution to resolving the acute problem of food shortages in countries with a complex military and political situation is hard to overstate. We regret the fact that no space could be found among the briefers for a representative of the FAO, because after all, the FAO is the leading UN specialized agency in agriculture and food, and a knowledge organization with a unique methodological ability to conduct a comprehensive assessment of the food security situation. Alongside the WFP, it works to analyze the relevant risks. And both organizations head the UN Humanitarian Cluster on Food Security. Madam President, the real, thorough and fruitful work on increasing the coordination of international action in this area, as I have already said, is done in the specialized agencies, the WFP and the FAO in Rome, as well as in other organs in the economic sphere. We are not entirely convinced that involving the Council in this work will provide any added value. We therefore oppose the idea of appointing a focal point for monitoring the implementation of Resolution 2417 of the Security Council. This would only muddy the waters of the work being done by the UN agencies in Rome. This position does not mean that we do not consider these issues and also the problem of hunger to be important. We do not deny that in individual, regional, and country-specific contexts, the issues of climate change, hunger, and migration may serve as additional factors that increase the risk of conflict. However, these phenomena should be analyzed as they apply to each specific situation. Speaking about this in generic terms and in a global context is not justified, and imposing a universal approach to this interconnectivity could even be dangerous. What's more, far from all conflicts represent a threat to international peace and security, which is the Council's purview, and not all countries where there is hunger are in conflict. We also do not agree with shifting the focus onto conflicts which overshadows other root causes of hunger. These include the opportunistic actions of a number of countries that exacerbate internal political crises. By some strange coincidence, the tragedy of hunger grips precisely those territories where state institutions have been destroyed. That is what exacerbates conflicts and increases the risk for national food security. An example of this is what we see in Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen, and Somalia.
Do we have translation?
We seem to have lost the translation. Can the interpreter switch?
Нам необходимо извлекать уроки. I think we lost translation, I'm afraid. Can the interpreter...
The French interpreter stating that the sound from the speaker has been interrupted.
SCAD on? SCAD, can you check to see where the
Repeat, there is no sound currently coming from the speaker.
Yes.
Could SCAD please check the sound connection with the Russian ambassador?
Hear me now.
Yes, I think you would see, Ambassador. Please continue.
I will repeat the last paragraph. Не согласны мы и со смещением... Есть перевод? Do you hear my voice?
Yes, we hear the English. Can the interpreters hear? Can we have confirmation, please?
The interpreter is not with us at this moment.
We did not hear the interpretation.
Ну что?
Please stand by for a moment while we check the status of the interpreter.
Can I continue to hear me? Okay, good. Не согласны мы и со смещением акцентов на конфликты.
We do not agree with so much emphasis to be put on conflict and to overlook the other root causes of conflict, including the dangerous adventures of many countries that have led to the worsening of intrapolitical crises, such as, for instance, the tragedy of hunger also affects areas in which state infrastructure have been destroyed. And that indeed is what worsens conflicts and increases the risks of national food insecurity. Clear proof of this is what we see day after day in Iraq, Syria, or even in Somalia, among other cases. And Yemen is particularly characteristic of this. Here it isn't hunger that led to conflict, but rather conflict that we also need to learn lessons from this situation, and this is how we will significantly reduce the number of humanitarian disasters. Madam President, attempts to involve those affected by hunger from armed conflict on the Security Council's agenda go hand in hand with attempts to change certain concepts and to draw up unfounded links between certain other subjects, and that is concerning to us. We do not agree with drawing a link between the issue of food insecurity and protection, and we are being asked to carry out humanitarian activities in the same vein by condemning states that take time to send data on these issues. We interfere in their domestic affairs. This cooperation must be done on a certain basis and should not be hampered by conditions. The Security Council depends on the respect for humanitarian law and the strengthening of the humanitarian nature of assistance. The resilience of agricultural production systems in the light of climate change depends on climate change, sustainable development, and does not have a direct link with the activities of the Security Council. In light of this, we do not deem it necessary to oblige the Secretary General to report twice a year to the Security Council on food security and on fresh situations of crises linked to armed conflicts. It has had this mandate since 2018, during which Resolution 2417 was adopted. Nothing prevents it for him from reporting to the Security Council on individual countries or on specific countries struck by famine. Madam President, turning now to the substance of the subject pertaining to us today, we wish to underscore that capacity building at a local level, establishing markets for commodities, liberalizing exchange markets, and also drawing lessons from natural disasters could help us in helping economies destroyed by these situations. It's important also to counter the root causes of these problems and lift unilateral sanctions. In this regard, we welcome the recently taken decision by the new American government to modify the sanctions imposed against Ansar Allah. Without that, the situation in Yemen, and particularly famine, would have reached a point of no return. The Russian Federation agrees in the need to react quickly to the problem of famine. But this must be done in the context of mechanisms that address this matter professionally and that bear in mind the complex nature of the challenges faced by countries in the area of sustainable development. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of Russian Federation for his